In a moment of profound national reflection, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., current Secretary of Health and Human Services, has sparked a new chapter in the national conversation on autism. At the heart of his address lies a simple, piercing question that confronts both the medical establishment and the cultural conscience. If the rise in autism is merely due to better diagnosis, why don't we see it in older generations? Kennedy does not pose this question lightly. Drawing from personal observations and a body of research, he invites a dialogue rooted not in dogma but in observation, inquiry, and intellectual courage. Where are the elderly with full-blown autism, he asks. Where are the nonverbal, headbanging, non-toilet-trained adults walking around our malls or residing in long-term care institutions? His point is as much about presence as it is about absence. The lack of such cases in older populations, he argues, is not an oversight, it's a red flag.
I referred to a number of studies. There are many others in the scientific literature that absolutely explode this mythology that this is, that the autism epidemic is not real. If you read the literature, it is absolutely indefensible to continue to promote this. But it doesn't take you to read the literature. It just takes a little common sense. If the epidemic is an artifact, a better diagnostic criteria or better recognition, then why are we not seeing it in older people? Why is this only happening in young people? I asked Walter before we came out here, I said, have you ever seen anybody our age? I'm 71 years old with full-blown autism, headbanging, nonverbal, non-toilet trained, stimming, toe walking, these other stereotypical features. Where are these people walking around the mall? You can't find them. They're not in homes. There are no homes for them. There are no institutions for them. Why are we seeing them on the street? Anybody can look around and see that this is a canard. And then you have to ask yourself, why is it so pervasive? Why has it been thrown up against us for so many years? And clearly there are industries. This is coming from an environmental toxin. And somebody made a profit by putting that environmental toxin into our air, our water, our medicines, our food. And it's to their benefit to say, to normalize it, to say, this is all normal. It's always been here. But that's not good for our country. And it's not good for the press to not be more inquisitive, to not be more skeptical.
This claim challenges the prevailing scientific consensus, which maintains that the sharp rise in autism diagnoses over recent decades stems primarily from improved recognition and diagnostic criteria. The CDC, WHO, and leading autism research institutions emphasize genetic causes, with twin studies estimating up to 90% of autism risk stemming from hereditary factors. According to them, older individuals were simply missed, undiagnosed due to outdated tools and limited awareness. But Kennedy remains unconvinced. For him, this explanation rings hollow. His reasoning, while anecdotal in tone, is grounded in common-sense observation. He argues that if autism has always existed at today's rates, then the visibly impaired population should be observable across all age brackets, not just children and adolescents. A 2024 study from JAMA Network Open supports his observation to a degree. 30.3 per 1,000 children aged 5 to 8 were diagnosed, while the rate among individuals aged 65 plus drops to just 0.2 per 1,000. What, then, accounts for this? Kennedy's answer is sobering: environmental toxicity. He asserts that modern life has introduced a cascade of synthetic chemicals, pollutants in our air, additives in our food, preservatives in our medications, that were absent in prior decades. He believes these toxins are at the heart of what he calls a true autism epidemic. Somebody made a profit putting these toxins into our lives, he stated. And it's to their benefit to normalize the consequences. He is not merely sounding the alarm. Kennedy has promised to unveil his findings by September 2025, zeroing in on the specific agents, industrial pollutants, food additives, pharmaceuticals, that he believes have corrupted early neurodevelopment. To many, especially those skeptical of government and corporate interests, this call for transparency is long overdue. Yet his stance has provoked backlash. Medical experts warn that focusing too narrowly on environmental toxins could overshadow autism's multifactorial complexity. There are concerns his rhetoric could contribute to stigma and steer funding away from genetic research and much-needed support services. Others point out that the modern definition of autism encompasses a wide spectrum, including individuals with subtle social or cognitive differences who may have gone unnoticed in past generations. Still, Kennedy's insistence on dialogue, not dogma, resonates. His approach embodies key principles of democratic discourse, the value of open debate, intellectual humility, and the necessity of self-reflection in the face of institutional consensus. In many ways, it's not just a scientific inquiry, it's a cultural and moral one. He's not demanding that we accept his conclusion. He's asking us to consider the possibility that we've overlooked something essential. That in our eagerness to rely on official explanations, we may have lost touch with our ability to see what's directly in front of us. And in doing so, we may be denying children and their families the answers they deserve. Kennedy's narrative carries the marks of effective dialogue. He frames his critique with clarity, presses respectfully but firmly, and encourages rigorous questioning. His speech is not just an argument, it's a model of how to reintroduce complexity into public life. It's a case study in systematizing knowledge without falling prey to conformity. This isn't merely a controversy, it's an opportunity. A chance for citizens, journalists, scientists, and families to come together and ask deeper questions. What does it mean to care for the vulnerable? What responsibilities do we bear for the world we've built? Have we trusted too quickly in authorities that may have failed to ask the right questions? The debate ahead is not without risk. It will require a careful choice of words, a disciplined engagement with data, and above all, an openness to refine our thinking. As Kennedy said, it doesn't take much, just a little common sense. But common sense must be wedded to scientific rigor and guided by a spirit of empathy and respect. We owe it to the children. We owe it to the truth. In closing, let us not forget, history is full of moments where scientific certainty gave way to deeper truths, lead in gasoline, thalidomide, asbestos. Today, Kennedy invites us into another such moment, not with finality, but with fierce curiosity. We are called to be more inquisitive, more courageous, more committed to clarity, not to dismiss what we do not understand, but to listen more intensely, think more deeply, and speak more honestly. Only then can we reclaim the dignity of dialogue, the beauty of self-correction, and the pursuit of truth in a society worthy of our children. Thank you.